are listening to the Heavy Metal Hangover, where the beer is always cold and the music is always heavy. With your hosts wearing jeans and leather, not Cracker Jack clothes, Rex and Duff. Welcome to another episode of the Heavy Metal Hangover. My name is Duff.
My name is Rex.
And here we are. I think both of us are in kind of a... I don't know. We're both in a bit of a mood.
Well, I actually was I was sick all week. Monday afternoon, I started feeling like crap. Like, it was one of those things where I was... First of all, my office is in my basement. My basement isn't as cold as yours, but it's usually around like 65 degrees down here. For me, that's fine. But I started being cold, and I'm like, I'm colder than usual. Like, I thought, well, maybe it's, whatever, so I like got a sweatshirt on and I'm still cold. And finally I'm like, I need to get out of here first. So I went upstairs and I went and fallen asleep. I didn't fall asleep for like 4 hours. And the whole time I'm like freezing and I'm like under a quilt and everything else. So next morning I woke up and I felt terrible. So I was sick for today is the first day I felt 100% fine. Yeah,
that's
the only thing I'm drinking today is I'm finally, I'm just having a soda. I'm not... Because the last 3 days my stomach's been wonky, and I didn't think pouring a generous amount of whiskey into a stomach that just was able to handle food yesterday is a great idea. So I will be stone sober during tonight's episode.
I am going to have a couple of beers, but by that I mean I have two, and I'm drinking them because I have them. And because I like beer, but there is absolutely no way I feel anything. I'm far too big of a guy for 2 Miller Lights to really get me anywhere.
But I wanted to say, normally we picks the week on the show, and I was supposed to have picks the week, but I want to tell this story because, and our listeners right now are probably sick of hearing it, so I don't know, fast forward if you're sick of hearing it, but I months ago pre-ordered the new Cradle of Filth and the new Spirit World, because I was looking forward to those albums. And
I just realized I sent you a song from Spirit World, and I'm like, oh, you're really going to like this.
Yeah, no, I think you've sent me Spirit World like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
That's
like,
the one yep, I know that. I know. No, and you, it's fine. Like, I'm not like
because it has like
balls.
it has sort of like a crossover feel without.
Well,
it's cool. Anyway, go on.
It's like kind of like people say it's like a thrash like metal. It's not metalcore because it's not anything like that. But it's funny too because the guys dress like ZZ Top but play like thrashy like heavy.
It's very much your kind of thing.
People compare them a lot to like Hatebreed, but
yeah,
they're a little thrashier than Hatebreed, but.
Well, anyway, I just wanted to throw out like that, not realizing that's the band that you had ordered because I didn't put 2 and 2 together. It took me about 10 seconds to go, oh, this is totally a Rex kind of thing. Yeah, like, I don't dislike it, but it's really not my thing. It's
their last album was super awesome, and I have the album before that too. Like it's their last album was really really cool. Now
that I think about it, I know you liked that last album. Anyway, continue with your story.
So. I pre-ordered them, and normally what I do is I pre-order on Amazon because I just it's kind of like my sure thing. So I pre-order there, and they shipped. Normally they ship the night before, but so I wait for other stores that I like to put up the orders, and then sometimes I'll cancel. But they shipped like Tuesday or something like that, so I'm like, all right, well I guess I got these from Amazon. So I go on my porch today, and I see a flat box and a small rectangular box, and I'm like, that's odd. And I'm like, maybe because you have some subscription. I have some subscription things like coffee. I always get Death Wish coffee delivered, and I'm like, maybe I didn't notice that's my subscription was due or something like that or whatever. So I open up the small box, and it's a glass beaker, like a beaker like you'd use this for a science experiment, right? And I'm like, maybe, and I'm like thinking to myself okay, well I open up the other box, and I'm like, okay, well here's a record, and I open up the record, and it's some record by some band called something like the Blue Stones, and I'm like, what the hell?
Man,
and I look on the label. What's that?
Man, what the?
No, I didn't say it. So so I'm like, I look at the labels and I compare the order numbers, and apparently the glass beaker was my Cradle of Filth record, and apparently the Blue Stones was my Spirit World record. So I call Amazon, and I'm going to complain here. By the way, this is going to be me venting, and I'm going to get to a resolution that
I've got a couple of beers. You talk about you talk about who tinkled in your Wheaties.
Well,
and I'll
but so it's going to get to a resolution that I'm satisfied with, but not nothing to do with Amazon. So I call Amazon and I'm like, I got my orders, and I have a problem with 2 of my orders. And they're like, okay, what's the problem? And I was like, you sent me a glass beaker instead of a record. I was like, normally, like, I get it. By the way, I just want to clarify something. I know the operator that I'm talking to has zero control over anything that happens to me, or over any policies, and they're literally just reading from a card. He's reading from a card. But I'm always careful to like berate them, because they're basically I know that if you're in a customer service phone position, probably 50 to 75% of your job is to get yelled at about things you can't do anything about.
Yeah, but let's be fair. None of them are prepared to deal with me when I'm yelling.
Well, and I even told you, I'm like, I pulled a U today. And so I called them.
I am brutal.
You sent me a glass beaker instead of a Cradle of Filth record. I said, what the hell kind of people are working in your warehouse that see an order for a vinyl record, put a glass beaker in a box, and say, that must have been what he meant. I was like, and I was like, and the other one, I could at least understand the other one, because sometimes when things are coming in, they get sorted and shit, they sorted wrong and everything else. I could understand that one because it was in a sealed box and it probably had the wrong sticker on it, whatever. That's an honest mistake. But like, if I'm pulling, and I know that sometimes computers do these things, so maybe it was a computer, but I also know humans, for the most part, a significant amount of humans are still picking Amazon orders. Like, if I'm working for a car dealership and I get an order and I'm like, okay, this guy wants the BMW SUV, and I go over and get on a moped and pull up to his house and say, what, this isn't what you wanted?
No, I was going to say, no. What they want a BMW, you just go down the block, steal somebody's bike, and get.
Well, I mean, like, seriously, I told the guy, I'm like, so I order a $30 record and you send me a $6 beaker, and you don't see a problem with that? And finally, I'm like, you know what? This guy didn't do it. I'm like, okay, so I'm like, he's like, well, would you like us to try and send you your stuff? Would you like us to replace the items, or would you like us to refund you? And I said, well, do you expect me to return this stuff? And by the way, this is not me trying to be cute and say I want to keep this stuff, because I have absolutely zero use for anything they sent me, and I don't want it. It would end up just literally I would have thrown the beaker in the trash, and I probably would have taken the record to whatever record store I went to next and said, here, Amazon screwed up, sell this. You know what I mean? I don't even give me anything for it. Just put it in your bins and see if anybody wants it.
It's pushing a half an hour each way for me to get to a place to return an Amazon.
And that's what I told him. I was like, so let me get this straight. Your company screwed up, sent me the wrong stuff, and now you're telling me you're going to hold my money hostage until I package everything up, drive it to a location, and give it back to you, and then you're going to still hold my money hostage until it actually finally gets to you, which they said could be up to 2 weeks later. I was like, so you screwed up, and now it's my job to fix it and make sure I get my money back.
Yeah,
and they're like,
you're going to be eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the next 2 weeks.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm luckily in a position. I even told somebody.
I know.
But the thing that bothers me about that is that I'm very lucky to be in a position where they screwed up, and that's not, and I'll get to how I dealt with this. So I told them, I said, no, refund me. I was like, if you're going to make me waste my Saturday fixing your mistake, I don't even want to do business with you. And I said, not only that, but I don't trust that you're actually going to fix the mistake, and I'm not going to spend next Saturday doing the exact same damn thing. So you know what? I want my money back. I'm going to send you your bullcrap back, and just give me back my money. Because as I was hoping to do anyways, and like I said, this is kind of why it's a happy accident for me in the long run. One of my favorite places to order from, and this is not an advertisement. They're not paying or giving me anything to do this. This is a small business in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I've mentioned them before, that has always done right by me. I've even literally said, I'm out of town. but I don't want these to sell out. Can you send this package in a week? And they say, yep. Versus Amazon that's like, oh, no, we're just going to drop it on your porch and whatever happens to it in those 5 days, whatever. Now, obviously, I know Amazon's a much bigger business and they can't keep track of everybody's vacation time and stuff. I get that. But my point is, sometimes there's benefits to dealing with somebody you can actually talk to. So I said, fine, you know what? I said, I'm going to order from Angry Young and Poor. And sure enough, I went to Angry Young and Poor and I'm like, I did the old thing that you and I both do. Well, I could get free shipping if I just, I was like, there's a couple more albums I'd been looking for. And I'm like, oh, look, they have one of them. And I'll put that in my cart. And now I'm like, well, geez, now I'm like only a few bucks away from free shipping. So I found another record that I wanted. So I found another Depeche Mode album I was looking for and another Skinny Puppy album I'd been looking for. So, okay, well, now I'm getting free shipping and okay, great. And so that I'm actually happy that I was able to take the money out of Amazon's pocket and give it to this company or this store in Lancaster because they will send me what I ordered. They'll send it to me quick because there are sometimes they're close to me. They're in PA. They're right across the border, the state border. So where they've sent it to me, that I've ordered it on Friday and I've had it in my hands on Tuesday, which with Sunday in between there is pretty good for not Amazon.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say so. Anyways, long story short, well, I shouldn't say as you always say, short story long.
Short story long. Yeah.
But this is another case where, you try to order you pay for all this convenience. You order from these big retailers, and at the end of the day, they don't care. Like, they're going to keep your money until it's convenient for you. They're going to send you the wrong stuff. And look, I get it. They send out billions of products and, but that's even more the thing that annoys me. Is there a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but for some reason they need to keep my money for the things that I ordered that they didn't send me? So they screwed up and made a mistake, but they need to keep my money to make sure that they don't get the shaft. When they're like, you're going to get the shaft here until we know that we're not going to get the shaft. And this is what I was getting to before, and I promise I won't go on much more of a tirade.
No, it's okay, because I have a few things to add, but keep going.
I just wanted to say, the thing that annoys me is, like, what I started to say was I'm in a position where I'm fortunate enough that those two records, it sucks to have that much money just kind of hanging out there in the wind, but I'm also not in a position where I'm like, okay, well, now I'm not in a position where I have to say, well, geez, now I can't get these, or now I have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to get these because I don't have that money in my budget anymore. And, that's the thing that annoys me is somebody orders something, maybe they only have a small, like, entertainment budget in a week. Maybe it's a freaking high school kid who has a part-time job and he's looking forward to getting those two records, and that's, like, what he's spending his fun money on that week. And now you're going to hold his money hostage, or his or her money hostage, and they're not going to be able to get these products, or they're going to have to come out of pocket to actually obtain them even further because you screwed up. Like, good customer service should be, hey, you know what? We're going to refund you because we could afford to eat this, and they can afford to eat this. Yes, if you don't send us our crap back, we're going to charge you. Because if you don't send us our crap back, we're going to take that money back. And they can do that. But in the meantime, we did you wrong, so you know what? We're going to offer you a refund, and because that's what annoys me, is that somebody in a different position could say, well, that was my entertainment budget for the next week or two, and now I've got nothing to show for it, and I have to come out of pocket by driving X number of miles to the nearest location that accepts Amazon returns. That's what annoys me about this whole situation. And that's why I'm glad to give my money to that smaller business, and I feel so much better. You know what? I spent almost twice as much as I would have with Amazon. And this, by the way, this is me purchasing more things. This is not they were not charging twice as much as Amazon. I went on their site and said, well, I'm going to buy extra things. So I probably in the long run spent twice as much money ordering from the smaller shop because I found other things I wanted, which is good because I want to support them. But at the end of the day, I feel better spending my money there. I'm done now. You can go do what you're going to do.
No, it's okay.
I just wanted to make those 2 points.
I have a few things to add, and I'll circle back around to the record shop part. I'll get to the independent record shop thing in a minute. I know we've talked about this a lot, but again, I think there's some things that just need to be said. For starters, you were talking about like maybe it's a kid and that $30 is his only problem. Well, that's fine, but not everything Amazon sells is $30. They sell stuff that's thousands of dollars, and I'm willing to bet you people buy like a living room full of furniture, just whatever, as an example, and they get a glass beaker. You're like, this is supposed to be a couch. I spent $2,000 on this couch, and you sent me a glass beaker. So legitimately, we could be also talking. I realize that $30 might not sound like a lot of money, but it could actually be something that costs a lot of money, first of all. Second of all, I don't know if anybody has noticed this. And by the way, this is not me putting down one mega company and supporting another company, but I will, for one of the rare times in my life, admit to being wrong about something. Hey, I was wrong about Linkin Park. I didn't think they were going to be the next big thing, and I was wrong. But I don't know if you've noticed, but Barnes & Noble is doing better now than they have in a long time, maybe ever. Barnes & Noble is opening new stores. They are doing extremely well right now. Look, I will be the first to admit I complained about Barnes & Noble for a long time. I lumped them in the same category as Amazon. But I don't know what all is going on with Barnes & Noble, but here's all I'm saying.
I do.
Oh, do you know what's actually going on with the company? Because I didn't look into it, but I have an additional theory.
They have a new CEO, and their whole business model is basically on being your local bookstore, which is why they've gutted all the stores. They've made them more like open floor model or whatever. And his whole thing is every store manager is in charge of stocking his store.
Right.
So, or his or her store. So in theory, you're supposed to be able to look at the people who shop at your place and understand the things they buy, so you can properly. What you're saying is partially right in terms of, versus they're trying to take a huge corporation and they're purposefully trying to make it feel like a neighborhood bookstore.
Well, it's it's the shop around the corner, right? Or anyone who's ever there's the shop around the corner. Then of course anybody who ever saw You've Got Mail, right? Remember that movie, Cappuccino? If you've never seen You've Got Mail, whatever. It's a silly movie. It doesn't matter.
I won't be watching it. No offense.
No, it's okay. It's just one of those. It's one of those. Whatever. It's a romantic comedy that's silly, and it doesn't matter. The point I'm getting at is this. I complained about Barnes & Noble for years. I realized, I'm sorry, I knew what you were talking about. I didn't know if there was something else. Here's the point I'm getting. Why would Barnes & Noble do that? There's reasons why they would do that, but here's my theory. They're not coming out and saying, I think it's because Amazon is just screwing people over and they're getting sick of it. And I will tell you, I read a lot. And I buy a lot of books. And look, there's like thrift books and stuff. God, this is not an endorsement. I'm just saying. I buy a lot of books used. I also buy a lot of books new. And I have pretty much stopped buying books online from them and have gone to even Barnes & Noble just because I'm like, I don't know, it's in my hand. If I order it from Amazon, it could be 2 weeks and they're just going to lose it. It's going to get... Okay, you were talking about Lancaster, Pennsylvania with Angry, Young, and Poor. There's also a city called Lancaster, New York, which is outside of Buffalo, that any of my orders that go through there, they're just going to be a day later screwed up. It happens all the time. Drives me completely crazy. So all I was getting at is there are other companies that are clearly doing better than they have in a long time. Amazon crapping the bed. But enough about Amazon. Something I wanted to follow up on that goes into this discussion. Again, you gave a shout out to Angry, Young, and Poor. I don't think anybody who works there or owns it ever listens to this show, but if they ever did, thank you. You do a great job. You and I have both had really great success lately with a company called Plaid Room Records, right? I got something from Plaid Room.
I ordered one thing from them, yeah.
Well, right, but it if I'm not mistaken, it shipped fast, and it was shipped it like in a. It was protected like Fort Knox when you got the package.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
This could get run over by a car, and it wouldn't have hurt the vinyl.
The three companies I order from are Plaid Room Records, which they joined recently when we discovered them when you were on your Dream Theater hunt.
Right.
And they came through for me with 9 Inch Nails. I was looking for a copy of With Teeth. And I ended up picking up With Teeth and the new Cryptopsy self-titled, which Amazon also screwed me out of.
Right.
So they came through with me on that. Angry, Young, and Poor, and oh, by the way, all these 3 places all pack their stuff super well, and nine times out of 10, with very few exceptions, they ship within a day or two of when I place the order. Which again, for like a store and like packing boxes and dropping stuff off at the post office without an army of people doing this is pretty good. And the other one is a little bit more controversial. I know some people have strong feelings about it, but and they versus the one guy's YouTube channel and how he talks but Hell's Headbangers is the other one. So those are the 3 that are my go-to for records. That are my go-to for records right now if I'm ordering online. There's also a few local shops around me, but I mean, ever since the one nearest to me closed, the closest shop is like 30 minutes away. So it's they have great stuff, but it's not always easy for me to get there versus just placing an order with one of these other places.
What I wanted to mention though was, hey, again, anybody who knows anything about Plaid Room Records, they did me well. But when we had this conversation a few weeks ago, it was a different conversation, but we were on this topic a few weeks ago. I mentioned that I ordered a few things from 2 other companies that I'd never heard of, and I just want to give a really great follow-up. So a record that actually it's kind of funny because when we used to do a thing on the show where I would give Rex a record to listen to and something that would be outside of his wheelhouse, but there might be something about it he liked. And you would do the same for me. You would give me a record that I didn't know or a band I didn't know, and maybe outside of my wheelhouse a little bit, but something I would like. And one of the ones I did for you was one of my favorite albums of all time. It's The Black Halo by Camelot. And in the run of Roy Khan albums, starting with the album Epica, I had them all. I need the ones before it. I need Karma and stuff, but starting with Epica, I had all the albums with him on it, except the Black Halo was the one that was either not released on vinyl or it was released once and was really expensive. So the Black Halo was a big record for me, and I saw that it was coming out again, and I was like, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to trust Amazon because I just had this feeling that it was going to come out and they were just going to wait till the day of and be like, whoops, we're not...
That's what happened with me with Cryptopsy.
We're not going to send this to you. And they do that crap. Hey, here's what's funny. I'm looking at it right now. You ready for this? Amazon doesn't have any. I just now looked it up. Amazon does not have any copies of the Black Halo by Camelot on vinyl. What does that mean? No, it means they sold out, which means people who... What they did was however many they got, they gave them to the first, if they got 100 copies, the first 100 people that pre-ordered it got them, and everybody else, they just kind of did a screw you, and then you might be screwed not being able to get it from anybody else. So what I did...
Hang on, though. You know what the important thing to note about the screw you thing is? They don't say, hey, we can't get this, so they say, oh, we're going to get more, just hold on. And then they'll leave you on the hook for like 6 weeks, and after 6 weeks, they'll be like, hey, we've canceled your order, we ended up not being able to get this.
Yeah, and sometimes they won't even... Sometimes they won't even let you cancel. So anyway, what I wanted to throw out...
That's when the scenario you're about to say really hurts.
Right. So I didn't... Look, ordering... There's plenty of stuff I order from Amazon that I don't really care that much. But again, I'm telling the story not to just complain about Amazon, but because there are two other small independent record stores that I want to give a huge shout out to because I'm super happy about this. And I'm sorry to everyone listening to the show that had to wait 20 minutes to get to some of these positive things. But... I didn't trust Amazon to send me my copy of the Black Halo, and it looks to me like I was right. Because now, I might have been one of the first people to pre-order it, so maybe I would have got my copy, but I'm guaranteeing you there are people out there that pre-ordered it and didn't get it. So I said, I'm not screwing around with this. The Black Halo is a record that means a lot to me. I absolutely love it. You know, if you don't know the song The Haunting, it is, it's one of those songs that I listen to, and I just, man, it gets me every single time I listen to it. The Haunting is a duet with Khan and Simone Simons. I don't know if you know who she is. She's the obnoxiously good-looking, tall redhead who sings for Epica. Mm-hmm. Coincidentally, they named the band after the Camelot record. I mean, I realize this is about Faust and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, this is a record that's really important to me. So I didn't trust Amazon. Anyway, short story long, I ordered the record from a company called Drowned World Records. And I got to tell you, I got it. It was packaged great. It was, it was in perfect condition. And it shipped to me fast. And I got it. So I'm saying... Again, if anybody anybody knows Drowned World Records or anybody connected to them at all listens to the show, please, I'm super happy with them, and I'm legitimately thankful because, dude, the closest record store I could realistically order something for is an hour away. And dude, I haven't had a chance to drive to Syracuse. Again, there's a great record store in Syracuse, but I don't always have the opportunity to drive an hour to get there just to, to talk to them and see if they had it. So anyway, Drowned World Records, you really came in for me. I'm so glad that I'm really glad that I took it upon, I looked at the situation and said, I'm not going to deal with Amazon. I'm going to order it for them. And I did. So Drowned World Records, I mentioned it when I ordered it. Thank you very much. Another one I will throw out is the new Cradle of Filth. I had it pre-ordered on Amazon, and Cradle of Filth is I'm going to look. Hold on. That one is probably still available, mainly because they're a really big band, and because of that, they often have plenty of stuff in stock. But I am super curious. Let me look this up. Let's look. Cradle of Filth, Screaming of the Valkyries vinyl. And okay, so Amazon does have that, and I would have got that had I ordered it. But again, if you listen to this show,
maybe because I ordered it from there too, and look what I ended up with.
No, actually, mine
I ended up with a
'cause,
freaking glass beaker.
I mean, maybe mine would have been a glass beaker. It would have just gone to Lancaster, New York, and I wouldn't have gotten it. But sorry, if anybody who works for Amazon in Lancaster, it's Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but it's Lancaster, New York. If anybody that works at that Amazon shop listens to this show, none of you do, because I would have complained about you 100 times. Anyway, I didn't trust Amazon to send me this record. Also, Dogman by King's X was re-released on vinyl. Every King's X record, I think all of them, maybe one of the last two, I'd have to look, but pretty much everything up to the last one or two, and even maybe those, was re-released on vinyl in the last 5 or 6 years. Dogman was the only one that wasn't re-released on vinyl. The most valuable album I have, I mean, I'm talking it's worth $150. I don't mean it's worth a ton of money. But the most valuable record I have is my copy of Dogman. I've told the story before. It doesn't matter. I have it autographed, which I got personally autographed and stuff. But when I saw that Dogman was being re-released, I'm like, well, I have that one, but there's a new one that's 180-gram record. I'm like, this is going to be great. I want that. So I also was going to pre-order that from Amazon. But again, if you know me, you know that King's X is a band that I'm pretty much obsessed with. Anybody who knows me has probably had to hear me rant and talk about them all the time. Anyway, I also didn't trust Amazon to get that to me. And I found a company named Darkside Records out of Poughkeepsie, New York, which isn't that far from me. It's, I would say, because I live in central New York State, it's probably somewhere between Syracuse and, if you were to go from Syracuse to New York City, I don't live in Syracuse, but if you go to Syracuse to New York City, it's kind of sort of right in the middle. Actually, Poughkeepsie had what was it called? The Chance? There is I don't know if it's still there. There is a killer venue in Poughkeepsie. I think it's called The Chance. A great venue to see metal bands, and tons of them play there all the time. I saw the Cannibal Corpse, Nile, Suffocation, the Summer Slaughter tour in 2016. I remember Cannibal Corpse, Nile, and Suffocation playing. Anyway, so this came from Poughkeepsie, New York, and the only reason that I don't have Cradle of Filth today, which is the day that it was pre-ordered, is because the post office just delayed it. In 100% fairness, the company shipped it in plenty of time. This is just because, dude, it's a couple hours away. It shouldn't have taken this. It's just UPS. There's a delay because UPS sucks. Or excuse me, not UPS, USPS, the post office. But again, I didn't want to run the risk of Cradle of Filth is way too important of a band to me. I've liked them since the late 90s. King's X is, one of my favorite bands of all time. Didn't trust that to come in from Amazon. Also, King's X's Live in London I don't think it was ever released on vinyl. It's now released on vinyl. I have the DVD, but I'm super excited about getting on vinyl. I didn't trust Amazon to ship me that one either. So I ordered all 3 from Dark Side Records. It's a day or two late. Again, it's because of the post office. It's certainly not their fault. But anyway, I just wanted to throw them out. Actually, it says it's probably coming tomorrow. If that's the case, you were a day late, maybe 2, but not their fault.
Well, probably 3 if it doesn't come tomorrow because it's Sunday.
Well, you're right. But I mean, my point is, if the record was supposed to come out,
the thing is, it's post office. You can't control that.
No. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. So. There's the record shops you talked about. I wanted to mention
one more.
No, it's cool. I just want to make sure I mention Drowned World Records seriously did me a solid by getting me the Black Halo super quickly, and they defeated any possibility, or they beat any possibility that Amazon screwed that up. And Dark Side Records from Poughkeepsie, New York, I want to thank you as well, because I'm going to get the new Cradle of Filth, which I'm excited about, 2 albums by King's X. I'm super excited about it. I just kind of want to just clear, I know we were kind of complaining about Amazon when we weren't we really were. But
well, no, my complaining about Amazon was to frame something.
No, I agree with you. This just plays to the fact that and we say this all the time. I get it. Not everybody has the options and the funds, and fine. I'm just throwing it out that once again, the independent record shop, even though we couldn't walk in the store and we ordered it online, the freaking independent record shop won. And I actually don't think I paid a nickel more on either one of those places than I did Amazon. I'm pretty damn sure I didn't pay a nickel over Amazon prices for any of them. And I'm telling you right now, they were both less expensive than if I ordered them directly from the record label. So I don't know, man. I know a lot of people that because we do a podcast, we don't get really asked this anymore because no one listens to our show, but we would sometimes get asked, I'm in a band, can you talk about our band or promote our band? And we've had to tell people we know that we wouldn't do that. Because again, that's a completely different thing. But I feel good, if there's anything we can do from our show other than give people a laugh, I think supporting independent record shops, independent venues, independent areas of that, I think it makes sense, and I'm proud that we are able to give a thumbs up to these to these stores, because I'm happy they exist and they do us a great favor.
But to clarify,
without being paid to say that.
But to clarify, though. We when people come to us and say, can you talk about my band? We don't say, no, we're not going to talk about your band. We always say, send it to us. If we like it, we'll talk about it in that context. But what we're not going to do is, hey, everybody, there's a new CD by Goat Nuts coming out. So if you like Goat Nuts, make sure you get it. It's available at all major retailers. That's not what we're here to do.
I should have clarified. If that's just not our show.
If Goat Nuts said, hey, here's my new song, listen to it, and we're like, wow, this is really cool, we might say, hey, I heard a cool song, because that's what our show is. It's to discuss, recommend, grow. The whole reason why we started this channel was to grow a community. Now that hasn't happened as much as we'd like to, and again, I'm trying to come up with ideas, and you're trying to come up with ideas, and we're trying to think of ways to grow a little more and branch out. Because but one thing I wanted to say before I go down that road is, I also wanted to mention Heavy Metal Museum on eBay. Recently I did order
fantastic place to order.
I ordered Gorgut's Erosion of Sanity. And I'm, super excited. I get the package in the mail. It's when I open it up and I'm like, oh, they sent me Considered Dead instead. I'm like, huh. So I messaged the guy. Within an hour, he messages me back, hey, your package is in the mail with the other record, and here's your return label. Just send it back to me. He paid, and I didn't have to pay. Yes, I had to go to the post office, but again, that's a situation where it's an honest mistake. And he wasn't like, okay, well, send me back your thing, and when I get your thing, maybe I'll consider putting your record in the mail. No, he was like, my mistake. Here,
dude. He also didn't send you a glass beaker.
Well, that's the thing. He also didn't send me like like you said, a glass beaker.
It was very clearly a right band, wrong album.
Well, it was very clearly they were probably sitting next to one another, and he pulled the wrong one off the shelf and just because I'm but
it was
but and that's him sending me the wrong record is not me taking a dump. I'm saying like accidents happen, mistakes happen, and I'm willing to accept the margin of error, but at the same time, like, fix it. Like and that's the thing. The dude was like, I made a mistake, and I'm not going to make it your problem any more than I already have. You know what I mean?
An easy way to say this is like, there are restaurants, and I'm not going to. I don't mind name dropping independent record stores. I'm not name dropping restaurants, but like, there's a couple of big restaurant chains. One in particular, I use them as an example, and I won't mention who this is. I eat there. I don't want to say all the time, but I eat there semi-regularly, mainly because I just like their food and I like their service. Dude, every once in a while, an honest mistake happens and they send me the wrong thing or, whatever. First of all, when it happens, it is very clearly an honest mistake. Look, the only food I really won't eat, I can't stand hard-boiled eggs. I just can't stand them. So if I get a salad and there's like hard-boiled eggs on top, I'm like, I can deal with a lot of things. It's like the only thing I'm sorry, they gross me out. It's like The Undertaker and cucumbers. It's me with hard-boiled eggs. I have nightmares about hard-boiled eggs and women with dreadlocks and pit hair. The two things that creep me out in the world. Sorry if any of those listen to the show. Whoops. Women don't listen to our show. It's okay. But the point I'm saying is, I'll look at them and be like, guys, can I get a new? And you get the immediate, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry. Let me just, and look, dude, I don't need them to go give me a free meal. I don't need free dessert. I don't need a free meal. But when someone's like, oh my God, I'm really sorry, I'll go fix it. And they're Johnny on the spot and fixing it. I'm happy.
Well, yeah.
Dude, it's an honest mistake.
Yeah, dude.
I ordered ranch and you put Italian on it. Like, it happens.
Yeah, dude, like recently I ordered a Nine Inch Nails DVD and I got it. And this was just a private seller. I got it and I opened it up and they sent me an Incubus CD. And like literally, like if you looked at the a Blu-ray. And if you looked at the two Blu-ray, they both were black Blu-rays with red art on them. So really and truthfully, you could have, again, grabbed one and been half paying attention or in a hurry and sent me the wrong one. So I emailed him like, hey, you accidentally sent me the Incubus. And he was like, okay. I was like, I can totally send this back to you. I told him, like, he's like, well, you can keep it if you want. And he's like, and I'll send you the Nine Inch Nails one or I'll refund you. And I was like, to be honest with you, I don't even want the Incubus Blu-ray and it wasn't Incubus the cool Incubus. It was Incubus like wherever you want to, that Incubus.
Oh God, that song. Is that the song where he's like sitting in a rowboat and it's just terrible?
I never saw the video, but I remember we used to have to play it on the radio station when that song came out.
I know. It's bad.
It's like Help Yourself or I forget.
The point is like.
But hang on, let me finish this though.
Yeah.
And then
we'll get on to something else.
Yeah. But I want to say this. So, but then he's like, I'll drop your Nine Inch Nails Blu-ray because it's Beside You in Time, and I was like really excited because I'll be honest with you, like I never even realized this Blu-ray came out. It was the Blu-ray release must be really hard to find because like it was on HD DVD. But either way, so I was excited because I actually saw them on the tour that this Blu-ray was from. So I'm like, oh, this is really cool. So I'm waiting, and he actually messaged me and said, hey, the post office says they never got this package. It's still listed as like, waiting for package. I swear to God, I dropped it off at the post office, and I was like, all right, well, I believe you. I have no reason not to because whatever. And he's like, well, if it doesn't come by Monday, I'll refund you. And I'm like, that's fine. I didn't ask for a refund. And I was like, all right, well, if that's what you feel comfortable with. So Monday comes and goes, and I shoot him a message, and I was like, hey, did you talk to the post office? Do they have any updates? And he goes, no, I'll refund you. So he refunded me. Great, fine, whatever. Swear to God, Tuesday afternoon, I get a package in the mail, and it's the damn Nine Inch Nails Blu-ray. So most people would say, oh, cool, free Blu-ray. No, I actually messaged the guy and said, hey, just letting you know, this showed up today. Can I pay you? And he's like, no, just keep it. Don't worry about it. I'm like, no, really, I would really like to pay you because this was not your fault. This was the post office, and I really don't want you to get. And I swear to God, this is not me like trying to like wank myself on the podcast to make myself sound like cool. I literally, like, this is the kind of person I try to be. I'm like, dude, I don't want you to get screwed because the post office can't get their crap together. And he's like, no. And eventually I didn't want to, like, just, fight the guy. And he's like, no, really, this is the cost of doing business and everything else. And ended up, like, I basically got this Nine Inch Nails Blu-ray for free. But, I mean, I felt a little guilty about it because the post office totally screwed this guy. I did everything I could, short of driving to New Mexico and handing him the money to pay him. But, like, that's the thing. Like, I feel bad sometimes because, like you said, mistakes happen. Sometimes people, the post office makes your stuff late or can't find it or whatever. And so I mean, it's just sometimes these things happen. But again, like, I'm sorry to go on these tirades. Like, I know that we've spent 40 minutes talking about, like, where we buy our stuff from and things. But again, like you said, like, I see a lot of times people post on forums and stuff like, hey, where do you guys buy patches? Where do you guys buy t-shirts? Where do you guys buy records? Where do you guys? So I think a lot of people, honestly, who are, into metal, they buy merch. They buy shirts. They buy patches. They buy records. They buy this. So a lot of people are probably like, oh my God, when are they going to stop talking about this? But I do feel like there's some people listening who are like, oh, I only order from Amazon. Maybe I'll give some of these other places a try. And like we said, we're not getting anything out of this. It's not like Angry Young and Poor is going to message me tomorrow and be like, hey, thanks, dude. Here's a couple free records or something. I don't even want that.
I mean, if I ever went to their store, I would be like, hey, man, we're huge fans. We talk about you on the show. I don't want anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't expect anything from it. I just, I would gladly tell them, like, dude, we're huge fans. We talk about you on the show, and I hope, if we can get you 5 customers, like, that would be cool.
Well, yeah, I might drive out there because it's like a 2-hour drive for me or something like that. Yeah. So I might drive out there over the summer and take a road trip because, I want to kind of see if I can coincide it with maybe, like, they advertise like punk and metal shows and stuff, crossover shows. So I'm gonna see if I can coincide it with those two. But I'm gonna hopefully take a drive out there this summer. But yeah. Anyway,
so to switch on the music, but it's a related conversation.
Oh, okay.
Just because you were talking about it, so I know you're a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and I've said on the show 100 times, I'm not. They have a
reawakening with me too. Yeah,
they have a handful of songs I really like. I used to have the Downward Spiral. When I was a teenager, I didn't love it, but I liked it. I mean, I had the record, and I had Broken. Actually, Broken has some cool stuff on it. I was never super into it, but I had it. Closer's a cool song, and whatever. That's cool. There are
you of all people are like, Closer's a great song.
I mean, let me throw this out too. You can have an album and be like, that's a cool record, but not necessarily be a fan of the band, and that's fine. Anyway, the memory that I have of Nine Inch Nails was you coming over to my house when you got the Closure videos. Mm-hmm. It was a double VHS set that had, and again, by today's standards, who cares? YouTube exists. But the Closure videos it was a 2 VHS set, but that's how you got all the unedited versions of videos that were, let's be fair, royally screwed up.
The Happiness and Slavery video is something to behold.
Yeah, Happiness and Slavery was...
even by today's standards.
Yeah, well, I mean... Oh, and by the way, I looked it up on eBay, and someone is... Okay, don't get too excited. Someone is selling a copy for $1,900, but the rest are like $10. So it's really...
Yeah.
I was like, is it really that expensive? It's not. It's just someone...
So...
whatever.
The thing about the Closure videos, I'll let you in on this, is... I actually downloaded the ISOs for the prototype DVD that they were supposed to release. Right. And they actually came straight from Trent Reznor. I found this out years later, but Trent Reznor actually released the ISO files or released the files of something. And he was like, he knew it wasn't going to be released because I guess Interscope or whatever label he was working with at the time, and I forget which label it was, lost interest in releasing it on DVD. So he basically put it out there, and literally in a forum somewhere, he posted a link to the files and was like, shh, don't tell anybody. He's like, here's my present to you. Don't tell anybody I did this. Obviously he doesn't give a crap. But.
That was going to be my question. I was wondering kind of whatever happened to that, because it's one of those, again, as someone who's not a Nine Inch Nails fan, I vividly remember I'm telling you, I probably remember every single video on
the Pinion
there.
video
actually,
where the guy's like in the bondage suit with a toilet strapped to his face.
Yeah, or like is it Help Me I'm in Hell where the guy's doing nothing but eating like flies or something?
He's sitting there eating a steak covered in, then everything in the whole room is covered in flies. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying, like, I remember that stuff, and it was just of all the videos that like really stick out in my head. I don't know what made me think of this, but when you were talking about buying like Nine Inch Nails stuff, it reminded me of that. If you've never seen it, it's got to be on YouTube. It's got to be somewhere. Just watch them. They're
I don't know if the Happiness and Slavery video. It might be on YouTube.
It's just one of those things where today it's kind of hard to not be able to. You can find something if you look hard enough for it. Unless you're Vinny and you're trying to find your pecker, it ain't gonna happen. He can look all day. He can look all day and he ain't gonna get any closer. Ha ha ha! Nine Inch Nails pun.
You can actually download the ISOs still for the closure videos, and again, those came from Trent Reznor. So I'm not telling you to go on the torrent route for this or anything like that. You know, I'm just saying like those came from Trent Reznor. So whether they're quote unquote clean or not in terms of like, you know, risking copyright strikes or whatever, I don't know. But I know a lot of people downloaded them without any problems because, again, they came straight from the artist. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I have the ISO files. I don't have the files I have. You need a dual layer Blu-ray burner to burn them. So I just converted them all into like MP4s so I can watch them. But they're cool videos.
So there's that. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about. It sounds like a completely unrelated conversation, but it's a completely related conversation. Like I said, I have vivid memories of watching that with you. Only one time. I only actually ever saw that once, but I just remember it. I don't remember if we watched it together for the first time or you bought it and then watched it with me. It doesn't matter, but I remember watching it with you.
Yeah, those VHS tapes are long gone.
Going from there, I talk about how there were loads of like live concert videos that I worshipped. The Dio Sacred Heart videos, huge for me. The Ultimate Ozzy, huge for me. And there was the Year and a Half Life Metallicas and the Vulgar videos, the fun ones. But then there was also ones that were just amazing concert videos. Alice Cooper Trashes the World. Mm-hmm. Some really cool ones that I had on VHS, and I used to watch all the time. Mm-hmm. One of my all-time favorites was Dream Theater's Images and Words Live in Tokyo, I believe it was called. I watched that a million times. They played Pull Me Under. They played, they played pretty much almost everything, if not everything from Images and Words. But I especially loved that they played Pull Me Under. They played Under a Glass Moon. They played Yitze Jam, which, man, that was cool. You know, seeing them do Yitze Jam with Mike's big drum solo in the middle. Just a huge fan of that. As much as Images and Words is a top 5 favorite album for me, if you don't know, it is. Top 5 favorite records, Rush 20, in no particular order, Rush 2112, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance, Dream Theater, Images and Words, King's X, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, which, with the parentheses of I really can't pick a favorite King's X album, but we're going to go with that one. I forgot which 4 and Queensrÿche, Operation Mindcrime. Anyway, it's sad that 4 of those are prog albums. It doesn't matter. But I bring that up because I have fond memories of watching that. I actually, this week, got to see Dream Theater. Now, I'd only seen them twice before. One time was, 15 years ago or so, when I saw them open for Iron Maiden in an amphitheater. In total fairness, that's kind of a terrible way to see Dream Theater. Well, it's kind of terrible to see most bands opening for Maiden just because it's a Maiden show and the crowd hates you. Doesn't matter who it is. I know the Henry Rollins story and the crowd hates you, but it's besides the point. It was kind of weird seeing Dream Theater as an opening band. It was a weird slot. I did see the last show that Dream Theater did in the United States. It was the last show of the tour. Then they went to Europe and Mike Portnoy left. So I technically saw Mike Portnoy's last show in the United States, at that time. But the only time I had ever seen them headline was quite literally 25 years ago in around February of 2000 when I saw them do Metropolis Part 2 on that tour where they played the whole album all the way through, and then their encore was just a bunch of medleys and other stuff. So that was cool. But anyway, I got to see Dream Theater this week, and I got to tell you, it was one of those things where I'm a big Dream Theater fan, but I will blatantly admit to anybody on the show, and you can call me whatever words you want to call me, when Mike Portnoy left the band, I stopped caring. I didn't care. In fairness, some of the stuff that they were doing toward the end of Mike's tenure with the band, I was losing interest in a lot of it. It stopped being stuff that I really liked as opposed to what they did in the 90s. And look, Mike Mangini, never say a bad word about him. The guy's one of the best drummers you could ever find. But without, and you can say this about the entire band, but Mike Portnoy and John Petrucci, they're the foundation of that band. Clearly, I know, John Myung, I get that. What I mean is, the sound and groove of that band is Mike Portnoy and John Petrucci. Mike Mangini and John Petrucci was not it was a different thing. It didn't have that Dream Theater feel and that sound. I don't care if anybody wants to tell me that Mike Mangini is a better drummer than Mike Portnoy. He probably is. Mike Mangini can do things with one limb that most guys couldn't do if they had four. Fine. But Mike Portnoy, him and John Petrucci, without them, it doesn't sound like Dream Theater. Again, I'm not taking anything away from John Myung. The guy's brilliant, clearly. But hey, say what you want about Jordan Rudess. He's also their third keyboardist. They sounded like Dream Theater when it was Kevin Moore, Derek Sherinian. So I quit caring. Knowing that Mike Portnoy was back in the band, and knowing that Dream Theater's new record, dude, it kicks ass in so many ways. Like, I love it. I love it because they simplified their music a little bit. Come on, it's Dream Theater. They're going to have 10-minute songs with 3 minutes of solos. But their music, I find, is way more, you don't have to be a guitar geek to like it. Night Terror, is that the name of the song? The first single off the record, it's awesome. I don't think you have to be a Dream Theater fanatic to like it. It's the kind of thing where, and Rex, we don't need to go into this conversation, but it's more of the type of thing that I could give to Rex and go, well, I like some of it. There's cool riffs in it, as opposed to what they were doing with Mike Mangini, where just I can't even find a riff. It's just wank. So anyway, super, super loved the new album. Got to see Dream Theater. And, I see a lot of concerts. I know you do too, Rex. I've seen so many bands live, and not because I'm cool, just because seeing live music is my favorite pastime next to, watching Mensa films and wanking it myself. I love seeing live concerts, and I have such fond memories of seeing Dream Theater 25 years ago. It was at the Agora in Cleveland. I was in the front row. It's a small place. I was front row right in front of John Petrucci the entire show, and I'm like, this is just the coolest thing ever. So Dream Theater this tour is doing a 3-hour set with a little intermission, but it is a 3-hour, it is a night with Dream Theater. There's no opening band. It is just, so first of all, if you're not a Dream Theater guy, where I would look at Rex and be like, I know you like Pull Me Under, and I actually think there's a lot of stuff on the new record you're like, but Rex is not going to want to see 3 hours of Dream Theater. But I realize you have to be kind of a serious fan to want to see any band play for 3 hours. Seeing Mike Portnoy up on stage, and I could see Mike Portnoy with 100 bands. I know he was in 100 different bands. Seeing him up on stage with Dream Theater was one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. And I'm sitting there going this is awesome. And you know what? We've had people call us out for this before, and I don't want to go on too much about this, but I messaged this to Rex when I was at the show, and I don't care if I sound like a douche for the next couple of minutes, but I'm going to flat out say this. we try very hard on the show to not say, well, we liked that before it was cool, because half the time we liked that before anybody heard it just because we got it at the freaking radio station earlier. There was plenty of bands we just got at the radio station, or we were given the record free from the label. So it's not because we were cool. It's not an I liked it before them conversation any of the time. But I will make this damn exception. And I got to tell you, I was sitting in a theater in Rochester, and the entire place was sold out. My like $50 tickets were going for close to $300 because this place was completely sold out. And there's lots of shows that are sold out, but there weren't empty seats either. It was a crowd of clearly Dream Theater fanatics who were in this place. And I'm watching these guys play for 3 hours. And I mentioned to Rex, I said, this justifies all those times in the late 90s when even my metal friends were like, oh, that's just keyboard crap, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, I felt that, I don't care if it makes me sound like a douche. I felt that bit of pride that I'm like, damn it, this makes me feel good that all those years of being the only guy I knew who liked Dream Theater, that's kind of not entirely true, but, you know, all the other metal guys I knew were just not into Dream Theater. And Rick, this isn't about you. You and I just like different stuff. We say that all the time. But I'm like, I tried to get a million people in. Was like, oh, that's nerdy. Keyboards suck. I hate the vocals. I blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, man. I felt good. Like, damn it. This is cool. And actually, they won, I don't know if they won a Grammy, but they won something not long ago with Mike Mangini. And I'm going to paraphrase here. John Petrucci got up there and he accepted the award. If it wasn't a Grammy, it doesn't matter. He won an award. And he gets up on stage and he goes, I just want to say that this is for everyone who told us you'll never make it if you write songs that long, and you'll never make it if you keep writing in odd time signatures. He's like, so this is for all of you. And by the way, the song we won this for is in like 15/8, you know? And actually, and I know I've told you this, Rex, the best songs Dream Theater ever wrote, okay? Like for mega fans, it's, you know, Metropolis Part 1. But if someone were to say to me, I've never heard Dream Theater, there are only two songs I would throw at them. Either Pull Me Under, which in fairness was the song that made them famous, but I would, even over that, I would give them the song As I Am. As I Am, again, it was early 2000s, and not only is it got a killer heavy guitar riff and it actually has a great groove. It doesn't sound like a technical song, other than the guitar solo is nuts, but it's Petrucci. That entire song is about them saying, screw you, we're not writing, we're going to do our thing and maybe someday it'll pay off. And that's how I felt when I was at the show. You know, I had to look up the lyrics, but because I'm not good at just reciting lyrics off the top of my head. In the song As I Am, and John Petrucci wrote the song, it's, to those who understand, I extend my hand. To the doubtful, I demand, take me as I am. Not under your command, I know where I stand. I won't change to fit your plan. Take me as I am. And that song, that's what the song was about. Like, screw you, this is, you know, this is how we do it. And I don't know, I just felt really good seeing a packed house with all those fans in the room. And I don't know, like I said, it just felt awesome. They opened up with Metropolis Part 1. I think it's a terrible idea. I don't think they should open with that song. Why? Because when James LaBrie sang on, first of all, Metropolis Part 1 was written before James LaBrie joined the band. It was with their singer before James LaBrie. And James sang it basically the same way. But on Images and Words, James sings like super, like listen to the song. I mean, Rex, listen to the song Pull Me Under. His voice is super high on that. He doesn't sing that high really ever again after that record. He even says, like, I think he says he was singing in the stratosphere on that record. Anyway, opening with that song, in my opinion, is bad because it's the highest song that he's going to sing all night. And it's like, oh, you should probably not do this first. But anyway, the song comes out and James LaBrie sounds like piss. I'm sorry. He sounded like piss. It was flat out freaking terrible. And I'm sitting there going, tonight is going to suck. I can't believe, like, I have defended James Labrie as their singer for decades. And I'm like, damn it, this guy's going to ruin the entire night. After the song, before they go to play the second song, James Labrie goes, right at the beginning of that last song, he's like, I choked on my own spit. I mean, it's happened to everybody. But he was like, when you're a singer, he goes, that is an absolute nightmare when you're on stage. He's like, so I was literally choking and gagging through that song. He's like, in my entire career, it's happened maybe 5 times. After that, he sounded so much better for the rest of the night that I realized this wasn't really James. Like, come on, dude, he was gagging, you know? Did he sound great? I don't know. And Rex, you and I talk about this, I'll give you something that you mention all the time. You talk about Kiss Alive, you know, and how it's like when you're at the show, it doesn't matter if they make mistakes, right? I will tell you that watching YouTube videos of James Labrie singing, it didn't sound good. But in the house, I don't know, I thought it sounded awesome all night. I was not disappointed in his vocal performance at all. Watching it on YouTube, I'm like, that's not good. But who cares, because it was great when I heard it. So anyway, that's my Dream Theater rant. Sorry, tonight's just a day of ranting, but we both ranted. I even bought a t-shirt, damn it. I rarely buy t-shirts at shows anymore. It was $45, but I mean, $45 for a big band playing at a sold-out venue. $45 is cheap for a t-shirt. Sadly, that's cheap. So anyway, I got a new Dream Theater shirt. Super excited about it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, enough of my rant. So what else do we have in the queue?
I wanted to mention what you said about t-shirts. I wanted to mention, you know, it's funny because the last couple tours I've seen Cannibal Corpse, they actually have had their tour shirts available in advance on their website.
Yeah, I know we've mentioned that. That's really cool.
And it's $35. Like, and yeah, I know people are going to complain, oh, $35's a lot for a t-shirt. Yeah, but at the same time, it's better than paying $50. And you know, I'd rather give the $35 directly to Corpse's merch, you know, site than spend $50 and have the venue keep 40% of it.
It is either Cannibal Corpse is either making this, they're either netting the same amount of money that way, or they're actually netting more selling it themselves. I don't know that. It's very possible they're netting the exact same amount of money for $35 on their website as opposed to $50 at the venue. It's possible they net the same amount. So it's also very possible they make more on the one on their website.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So this is relevant. I mean, it's not on our list, but it occurred to me today.
I don't care.
When it comes to tour merch, what kind of stuff do you look for? So my biggest thing is I currently own, you know, so a lot of metalheads have the same problem, space. You know, whether it's your music collection, your t-shirts, or whatever, it's going to, you know, guitars, whatever, it's all going to boil down to space. Like, how much space do I have? You know, how much more can I squeeze in there? And I'm at the point right now where I could probably wear a different t-shirt every day for like 2 to 3 months. I wouldn't say 3, but probably about 2 months, and never repeat.
If I could fit into every shirt I own, I could do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I generally, so I purged a lot of my, and I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, I'm not going to go down that road. But I purged a lot of the shirts that don't fit me anymore. I got rid of them over time. Some of which I regret, because but this was like, we're talking literally like 20 years ago at this point. So it's not like last week I got rid of a bunch of cool shirts. So my point is like, but I was thinking about the other day, because I'm like, I want to buy tour merch. Like, I want to support bands. Like, I don't necessarily feel quote unquote guilty going to a show and not buying anything, but it's one of those things where like, I want to go to a show, I want to buy some things. So, but the thing is, like, you know, you eventually get to the point of where like, how many freaking Cannibal Corpse shirts do I need? I mean, I own like 7 or 8 Cannibal Corpse shirts. Like, do I need a 9th? You know what I mean? Like, and some people are going to say, yeah, you do. But I'm thinking to myself, like, again, like, do I need to be able to wear a different Cannibal Corpse shirt every day of the week? You know what I mean? Again, without doing laundry. Yeah, they're one of my favorite bands. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, again, like, I was curious, like, there are other times when I go to like the tour where they have pins or they have patches and stuff like that. And I was thinking to myself, like,
Patches O'Houlihan.
Well, but patches, I get it. a shirt you sell for $35, you're netting more money than a patch you sell for $10, whatever. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, like, there has to be a lot of fans now at this point who go to shows who not only are turned off by like the $40 or $50 price tag, but I'm wondering how many fans go to shows and they're like, dude, I've been going to shows for 20 years. I haven't changed sizes much, and I literally have like 60 t-shirts. Like, I couldn't wear all the shirts that I have.
No, I'm the same way in some respect. I don't like, dude, when I saw King's X for the last time, not for the last time. The last time I saw King's X, hopefully it's not for the last time. Like I bought a beanie with King's X on it because I was like, it's actually almost, it's like, it was late fall, and I'm like, I'm gonna wear this damn thing because it's cold. I don't buy a lot of now I did Dream Theater because I don't know, that was just, I don't know, it was kind of an important one to me.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying I would never buy a tour shirt.
No,
but in this circumstance,
what I'm saying is I bought a Dream Theater shirt because Dream Theater is a special band to me. Again, a huge influence on me. They're one of those bands for me. So I bought a t-shirt. Difference is 30 years ago, I bought a t-shirt at every show I went to. Now, it is relatively rare. And I will tell you, the price is 9 times out of 10 not even the problem. My problem is just kind of like you. It's like, I don't need another Cannibal Corpse t-shirt. I only have like 2, but whatever. You get my point.
Well, but for me, I'm like, I have a Vile shirt.
Yeah,
I have a Fire Up the Chainsaw shirt. I have just a generic Cannibal Corpse shirt. I have a Tomb of the Mutilated shirt. I have 2 or 3 different tour t-shirts. I mean, that's like 7 or 8 right there. And I have a what's the most recent album? Not Violence Unimagined. The
Chaos Horrific.
Chaos Horrific. I have a Chaos Horrific shirt. I have like 8 or 9 Cannibal Corpse shirts, and I'm literally thinking to myself, like, I really want to buy and I really want to support the band, but do I need 10 Cannibal Corpse shirts? Like,
yeah, I'm the exact, which is why, like I said, it's first of all, I realize, actually, I will say this. I realize that the $45 for, or whatever.
I don't care about the $45.
No. I'm not talking about you and I. I realize a lot of people are going to get turned off by the price. In fairness, 30 years ago, t-shirts were still way too expensive at shows. The difference is, in those days, every fan in the crowd didn't get boo-fooed by Live Nation at every show. So you also weren't throwing, like, you got to figure the amount of money a $50 t-shirt at a show, you spent more than that on Live Nation fees. So dude, let's throw that into the equation as well. Again, whatever. I don't mean, look.
Dude, to go on what you're saying, I'm looking right at my ticket to see Pantera in 1998. The cost of the face of my ticket was less than the fees I paid to go see them this July. Well,
and look, I realize,
and I get it. That was 30 years ago, or 25 years ago. It was 25 years ago, but still,
I'm going to avoid giving anyone. And if anybody wants to message me, I can have the conversation about factors that lead to the elasticity of demand. If you want to, I was a professor for a decade. I can teach you that if you want me to. But the point I'm getting at is when you again, just talking about price for a minute, t-shirts used to be too expensive at shows. Beer used to be too expensive at shows. It's always been too expensive to get beer and a t-shirt. But people didn't walk into the show already feeling boo-fooed without any lube. What I'm getting at is they already feel screwed financially.
But I'm wiping price off the table. Like, I don't want to, because we've had the discussion about price and Live Nation and everything like that.
No. I'm simply saying
I'm eliminating price as a factor. But I'm eliminating price as a factor. I'm more saying I've literally seen, like, Amon Amarth. Let's take Amon Amarth. I literally have seen Amon Amarth in July. I'll have seen them every year for 3 years straight. Do I need 3 consecutive years worth of concert shirts? And And again, I would like to, but at the same time, like, I'm not even that big of an Amon Amarth fan. I like Amon Amarth. I don't 4 T-shirts like Amon Amarth. You know what I mean?
Well, and so I was just throwing out the pricing thing just as a general statement.
But the point I'm trying to make is, I wish bands like I would buy a Cannibal Corpse and I'd buy one for my nephew if he came with me, or I'd buy, I would love to see a Cannibal Corpse Tour 2025 like patch, and I'm not talking about price. I don't care if that patch even is $20, but I'm thinking I can take a patch and I can put it on a jacket. I could even, freaking put it on my wall or put it on a bulletin board, something like that. Like, for as a T-shirt, I'm going to fold it up, maybe wear it 6 times next year because I've got 9 other Cannibal Corpse shirts, and it's going to just sit in my closet and until I'm either too fat or too skinny to wear it.
Well, which is why, like I said, when I saw King's X, I didn't buy a shirt. I have a Gretchen Goes to Nebraska shirt. I would love another King's X shirt. I would. But I'm also like, dude, I just have a million T-shirts. It's just going to get thrown in a pile.
So that's what I'm kind of saying. Like that's the conversation I wanted to have. I don't want to have like another like, oh, well, things are expensive now because everybody knows.
I was throwing that out just as a, let me make this point and then we'll move on. I'm agreeing with you though that I just don't, and it's not, again, it's entirely because, and by the way, the million concert shirts I've gotten in my lifetime, those weren't given to me. It's just because I used to buy T-shirts at every damn show I went to. And even though I don't have loads of my old ones, I still have plenty. And I'm totally with you. I don't need another T-shirt. Patches are super cool. I don't need another hoodie either.
Yeah, I've got 4 hoodies.
So no, I'm with you. I don't have the space. And even one more T-shirt doesn't take up much space. It's just one more, like, I'll wear it. It'll get cycled in the back of my T-shirt rotation. It'll be 6 months until I wear it. I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, if I want to wear a Cannibal Corpse shirt, I already have like 9 other options. Like, so, and I'm not complaining that they're having T-shirts because that's part of a tour, because this might be somebody's first time seeing Cannibal Corpse. So yeah, they want a T-shirt. I'm saying, I think it would be, and this is totally an opinion, and yes, I understand budgets, and I understand, overhead and store. I get it. But like 9 times out of 10, if I go to a show, I'm more likely to buy like a pin, a patch, a bandana, even a hat. I mean, maybe even a hat. I don't know. I've got tons of hats too. But like something that's kind of like, I'll even pay expensive. Like I think when I saw Overkill, I bought a Charlie pin, and it was really cool. It's got Overkill. It's like a 3D like solid pin with Charlie and Overkills on it and everything. I think I paid like $20 for that pin. Armored Saint too. Like they had a bunch of pins that were from the 90s. They found a box of pins and they were selling them for like $20. And I paid for those because I'm like, this is cool. I feel like I'm getting something. And at the same time, like, I'm supporting the band. So like when I buy that, I'm not saying, oh, go a $20 pin, that's totally worth it. For me, that's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to support them on this tour because, and I did buy a T-shirt at Armored Saint, and I think I did buy a T-shirt at Overkill. But again, like in the case of Cannibal Corpse, I'm going to be the guy that's going to walk up and probably buy the like weird stuff they have at the table versus the shirt. But at the same time, getting a pin of their logo, it's like I can probably buy that 60 other places. I still like to have that like memento of the tour, like being there. So that's why I'm kind of torn, where I almost wish they had something smaller where, like I want that like, oh, hey, remember when I saw Cannibal Corpse in New York City with Meshuggah and Carcass in 2025? Like I want to be able to, in 2040, assuming I'm still alive, or 20, be like, oh yeah, 15 years ago I was at that show. I have this. I think it would be great if it was like Cannibal Corpse Tour 2025, even if it was like a literal like 4x2 rectangular patch. Because I think a lot of people would actually really like that, because some people, when they have their battle vest, that's what they want on their vest. They don't want, just some people don't want just generic band logos or generic band art. They want that, like, I saw this band on this date, I saw this band on this date. So I think that, I think bands should really kind of take a look at that. Plus, I guarantee it's a hell of a lot cheaper to have 100 patches made up than 100 shirts. And you also don't have to worry about, like, how many smalls do we need? How many triple X's do we need? How many double X's do we need? Because patches are one size fits all. And literally the logo with the tour and the dates on it, or even just like Tour 2025, like I said, is all you need. And again, I'm not a merchandising expert. Maybe they've done research into this and they don't sell or whatever. I'm just like, I'm just stating my opinion in terms of, like, again, I want to support the band on tour, but, like, I don't need a 10th shirt. Like, I've bought a Corpse shirt at the last 3 times I saw them. So I'm like, 3 of my shirts are tour shirts. And I'm like, and some people are going to be like, oh, you're a poser. You don't want to buy a shirt at the show. You have too many of a band shirt. Ooh, but again, like, I've got one closet. And it's like, I don't want, like, to have to sleep with my t-shirts. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't know. I mean, it's a general thing on this show. We try to not be like, well, you're a poser if you do, or you're a poser if you don't. So because
I just don't care. Yeah, I always tell people, they always ask me, like, do you know, like, I'll see people on, like, oh, are you a poser if this, and a poser if this? Or, like, oh, like, people will talk, like, I'll give you an example. I'm wearing a Ghost shirt right now. The whole, is Ghost metal? Is Ghost not metal? I'm like, dude, I have way too much going on in my life to occupy my time to care if a band that I like fits your definition of a music that we both supposedly like. So I really don't care if they are or not. I care if I like their new album.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's not a discussion about Ghosts. I don't want to go down that road, but I'm saying, again, like, the whole, are you a poser? Are you not a poser? And I was talking to somebody today about t-shirts. Like, they're like, oh, I find it so annoying when people wear, metal shirts and they don't listen to metal. And I'm like, dude, I have way too much going on in my life to worry about what kind of music someone does or does not like and what shirt they're wearing as a result of it.
I 10,000% couldn't agree more. We are well past the halfway point on the show. Is there anything fun on this list you want to talk about? I only say that because we've been a bit serious tonight.
Well, I mean, like, I again, like, the Corpse thing. Like, I don't know. I think it's an important discussion. Let's see here.
Like I said, I'm planning on making tonight a short episode as is. I know you've got stuff going on tomorrow, and I do too. But that being said.
Okay.
Something fun. I don't care what that is.
Okay. You know what? Why don't we talk about these band legends? I have some of these because these are going to be fun and these are going to be funny. So what I have here is I was thinking about this the other day. So what happened was I was sitting on Facebook and I'm scrolling through and I saw somebody posted a meme and AI is a scary thing, but sometimes it's freaking hilarious. And it was a bunch of montages, and it was the girl who played Winnie Cooper. This is from the Wonder Years. And it said, Wonder
she
Years
doesn't have a name. It's Winnie Cooper.
Yeah, the Wonder Years cast reunion, and it had Fred Savage, the girl who played Winnie Cooper, and Marilyn Manson. And I was cracking up because, do you remember? And this is one of those things where before the days of the internet, where everybody filmed everything, photographed everything, researched everything, there was rumors. And there was another meme that popped up like literally 5 minutes later, and it was like Marilyn Manson teaches anatomy, and it was a picture of a rib cage with the bottom rib circled and says "do not need."
Well, I mean that was, Sinbad's Shazam movie. You know what I mean?
Well, but it's this is what's funny about this is so there was 2 big rumors about Marilyn Manson. This is what I'm going to call band legends, where I kind of want to talk about the funny stories of bands that, like, whether they were true or not, and a lot of these have been either squashed or verified.
Well, but I think these are real. A lot of these are real.
Oh, a lot of these are real. But it was funny because growing up in the 90s, Marilyn Manson was the king of having rumors spread about him. Like, there was the two biggest rumors that I remember floating around were that Marilyn Manson was actually the actor who played Paul from The Wonder Years. Obviously, you can verify that it's not. Like, now you can go on IMDb.
Marilyn Manson's real name is Brian Warner, which is clearly not the name of the guy who played Paul.
Right.
I don't remember the guy named Paul's name, but I know Marilyn Manson's name was Brian
He's
Warner.
Paul from The Wonder Years.
Yeah, he doesn't need a name, neither does Winnie Cooper.
Right.
That's who they are.
And so there was that rumor floating around. So there was, he was a child star who, so that was one of my favorite. And the other one was Marilyn Manson had 2 ribs surgically removed so he could, like, let's just say, what's that?
Service himself.
He could service himself, right? That was the other big rumor. And so those
that
two
was
memes,
more famous than any. That was more famous than his music in the late 90s.
Yeah, I remember people who never heard a Marilyn Manson song ever would see the name and be like, "Isn't that the guy who had ribs removed so he could, like, go to town on himself?"
I mean, like I said, that was one of those Sinbad Shazams. It's like it's one of those things where everybody thought it existed, and everybody thought it's one of those weird rumors that.
I don't think it was a Mandela effect.
Yeah, I would love to know, and we're going to talk about other ones that are real. That one was just always weird. It's like, where the hell did this one get started? Hey, if he started those rumors himself, congratulations to him.
The Paul from The Wonder Years, I just think somebody saw that he looked like the guy.
Yeah, well, no, I know, but the fact that became everybody in 1995 thought that.
Yeah,
and what I mean by that is, like, normal like your grandparents would be like, oh, Marilyn Manson, that's the guy who had a rib. How the hell isn't that the guy who was what the hell, where'd you get this? You have no idea who this guy is. You just know he's Paul from The Wonder Years, like, oh man. Anyway, so we have a bunch of these that are just straight up funny.
The one more thing I want to talk about, the ribs being removed, though.
Yeah.
But the thing the thing that gave me the idea of talking about this stuff is, it's hilarious because I wonder, Marilyn Manson has been around now for well over 30 years, probably 35 years at this point. Because he came out, and I forget what year did Portrait of an American Family come out?
I want to say
usually the year guy. 94. So
yeah.
30 years, 31 years, just about.
I'm going to look. I want to say 94. It might have been 92, but I think it was 94. I'm going to look.
I thought Smells Like Children was 94 because that would have been the year that the Downward Spiral, because he was on some of the music videos for Broken. So he was hanging out with Trent previous to the Downward Spiral.
Portrait of an American Family was 94, so I was right on that. Smells Like Children was immediately after in 95.
Okay. And
then Antichrist Superstar was 96. So they were kind of like, well, Smells Like Children was a freaking EP.
Yeah.
So it's really, you can't really say he put out 3 records 3 years in a row. But yes, I was right. I said 94 and I was right.
I would have thought it was 92, 93. But okay, 94.
Oh, yeah.
So
anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's 31 years old. I'm wondering, like, these rumors, so these rumors were 95, 96 era. Because when Antichrist Superstar came out, that's when these rumors were at their absolute peak, where people were like, "Dude, that's Paul from The Wonder Years. Dude, did you hear this guy can S his own D?" So yeah, it would have. Those rumors were definitely not Portrait of an American Family, right? And I say that because he didn't become someone anybody knew. Okay, what I mean is the general public did not know who he was before his cover of Sweet Dreams on Portrait of an American Family. So Smells Like Children.
Again, there's underground, but let's be fair.
No, but
that
those
cover
rumors
made him famous.
Those rumors are more. But my point is, but the whole point of me like bringing this up in terms of like dates and things like that is how many people are just hearing about these rumors now or saw that meme and they're like, I don't get it. Because I'm thinking to myself, like, that's what that made me think about these, like, legends and things like that. Because it's really funny to think that, growing up, we were like, oh, whenever you hear about somebody having their ribs removed, we immediately think Marilyn Manson. Like, it's really funny that these rumors, now, it could have been somebody our age who made these memes, which it more than likely was.
Oh, well, no, I guaranteed it was.
Well, but the other thing is, I'm wondering how many kids are seeing these, and I wonder if these rumors have had the legs where somebody who's like 16 who listens to Marilyn Manson is like, oh, haha, that's funny, or if they're like, I don't get it. You know what I mean?
I'm wondering. What's funny now is a bunch of 16-year-olds would see that meme and go, "Who's a Marilyn Manson?" And that's not making fun of Marilyn Manson. It's just, come on, his fans are people that liked him 30 years ago. I mean, I don't know.
You'd be surprised.
I don't know. Maybe he's cool with the cool kids now.
I don't think he's cool with the cool kids, but I think he's
never cool with
around.
the cool
Let
kids,
me put it that way. He's still around because he's still, yes, he is probably more in that like legacy band territory.
I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass. Maybe he's not. I don't know.
But he's definitely he definitely still sells albums. Let me put it that way. Because
Sure.
I recently looked him up because I was curious. I'm like, is he reached that point where? Because I know he's been in a lot of trouble lately.
Yeah, I know.
Had a lot of
I don't even know
accusations.
if that went anywhere. I thought a lot of it was debunked. I'm not getting into that damn conversation.
I don't get that, but my point is, I was looking
saying.
at his album sales, and he's actually still sold some serious albums, and that's surprising. he still is putting out some successful, music. So it surprised me because I would have thought, because I remember that Mechanical Animals came out, Holywood came out, and then after that, I don't remember. I couldn't name a single album after that. Now, I'm not sitting here pretending like I'm some sort of finger on the pulse of Marilyn Manson's life, but I thought after that he was kind of like on the downswing, but apparently not. I mean, again, he's not selling out like stadiums, but he just did a tour and he apparently did pretty well. So
I was just gonna throw out that I've mentioned this before, and then I know there's way more fun other ones I want to talk about, but he wrote a song in John Wick that is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was John Wick. Yeah, it was John Wick 1. I'm blanking what the song is. It doesn't matter if you know the song, or you can Google it. I don't care right now. He had a song in John Wick that was not only was it kind of the perfect song for the scene of the movie, it's actually a really cool song. I was even listening to it going, is this Marilyn Manson? Because this is really cool. Like, I knew it was Marilyn Manson because you can tell, but I'm like, I questioned it being Marilyn Manson, not because I didn't think it was him, but because I'm like, this is really cool. Anyway, there's a couple. Let's at least talk about a couple of these before we get out of here. Well, I can bring up. There are at least 2 Devin Townsend stories that are just the best stories ever.
and I'm sure there's a million more.
No, well, I mean, look, when I think of Devin Townsend, I'm sorry to everyone out there. I think of the interview with Steve Vai when he had just hired Devin Townsend. He like puts his. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to YouTube and watch the Steve Vai Devin Townsend interview when he's just being weird as hell in the video, to the point where Steve Vai's sitting there, super serious musician, and Devin's just acting like a crazy person.
But it's funny. I actually just talked about that interview. I saw Sex and Religion. Like, I was at the record show and I saw a copy of Sex and Religion, and I started laughing and I was like, "Oh, Devin Townsend on that album." And the guy who was selling records is like, "Oh, really? I never even realized that he was on that record." And I told him about that interview. I was like, "Yeah, if you ever watch the interview where Steve Vai is like trying to talk about the album, Devin Townsend's like walking around in a Speedo behind him, like making faces."
I know that his falling out with Steve Vai was because he took a dump in Steve Vai's guitar case. It's a crappy thing to do, ha ha ha. But I mean, dude, he took a dump in Steve Vai's guitar case. Part of me thinks he did it to other guys in the band too, but he definitely took a dump in Steve Vai's guitar case.
Can you imagine like having the absolute balls on this man? You have one of the greatest most revered guitar players in the world, and you open up his guitar case and just like, pinch a loaf.
Dude, it's sorry. It's in the Shawshank Redemption when the one cop's like, "I'm gonna go pinch a loaf." It's like, dude, such an underused phrase, by the way. It used to be cool, and then it kind of isn't cool. But maybe I think the phrases that need to come back, pinch a loaf is one of them, right?
Dude, Sipowicz used to say it.
Yeah, well, that too. But I always, like I said, I always think of the Shawshank Redemption. I'm gonna go.
I always think of Sipowicz.
I wish I were Sipowicz.
Sipowicz is like your hero.
The other one, Well, because, he could wear a tie and short sleeves. That's why. Oh, I wish I
And
were
he said stuff
Sipowicz.
like "whip your Skippy."
Well, yeah, I know. He was awesome. Now, I don't. Did either one of us look up the next story? Because I'm going off a story. Well, I mean, a friend of mine who's he's a trusted source, told me this story. I didn't actually look it up to read any of the context, but Devin Townsend was telling stories about how the other guys in Strapping Young Lad farted. And he described Gene Hoglan's farts as 2 people farting and 3 people clapping.
I mean, it sounds accurate. I mean, I don't know Gene Hoglan, but when I see Gene Hoglan, that's what I'd picture.
Especially when he's way thinner now, but he used to be a big dude. Like when I met him, he was like, I mean, he's still tall, but when I met him, I'm like, dude, he was a big dude. And
yeah, he's still a very big dude. When I saw Death to Wall, he came out of the venue and was standing right next to me, and I'm not a small guy, and he was bigger than me.
I mean, like I said, I got a picture standing next to him. Like, you are, but again, he's slimmed down a lot. He's still a big guy, but oh yeah, that's just. It's not even so much that he did it. It's just describing it as 2 people farting and 3 people clapping to me. Because you know what's weird about that? That is the most ridiculous description, and then you go, no, I actually know what you mean.
Yeah.
He kind of paints the picture perfectly, right? Like,
I mean, I've never heard Gene Hoglan crack one off, but
no, but you're looking at him like, a big guy like that, yeah, it probably does sound like people clapping. Next, if I ever meet Gene Hoglan again, I'm going to ask him.
Gene's probably going to be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, no, because like he's cool. Like when people would ask him story, Zimmer's Hole.
Yeah.
Like I've seen him tell story. Like he seems like a guy who has no problem answering questions like that.
No, he'd probably think it was hilarious.
Because he's not a serious guy in any way.
Oh yeah,
he's not even a serious musician. He's just a good one. You know?
No, I could totally see him having fun with that. But the thing I could see him, I wouldn't see him being offended by it. I could seriously see him being like, "Where the hell did you hear that?" Like, if you know what I mean.
Like, and I would look at him and go, "If I'm the first person to bring that up to you, then that is just awesome." Because this not because it's awesome that I brought it up to you, but it's how many other people missed the opportunity to ask you this question, or how many other people were just afraid to ask you. If Gene Hoglan, if you're listening to the show, tell us about your fart.
And we know you are.
We always said we wouldn't make fart jokes, but this is actually a fart joke.
I never said I wouldn't make fart jokes.
It's a story about farting. No, we make a lot of 7th grade jokes.
I never said I wouldn't make fart jokes.
You know what, though?
I am
we
certainly
tell a lot
not
of
above a
7th
good
grade
fart joke.
Our humor is very 7th grade, but of all the things, we always say like our show is dick and fart jokes. We make a lot of dick jokes. We don't make a lot of fart jokes. So I'm glad maybe we're balancing the scales.
I mean, I'm not going to go Terrence and Phillip where I'm going to be like, "Hey, Duff, what?" You know, like that's
yeah.
But I'm going to tell a good story about a fart. So I wanted to talk about one, and this one made me laugh because I think I've told this story on the show before, but I'm talking like it was. What?
I don't even know which one you're picking, and I know which one you're picking, and you've told the story before.
But
and it's awesome, so tell it again.
I don't know. So Gene Simmons giving the whole band crabs because they left their costumes in the same case.
Not the one I thought you were going with, but no, that's hilarious.
So this comes right out of, and I can't remember which book it came out of because I read all 4 members of Kiss's books like back to back to back to back. But so the story is that Gene's reputation was, and I want to say this was Paul's book where he talked about this because Ace's book doesn't go into this much detail because Ace has no clue what was happening around him at any given time. Peter was too busy feeling sorry for himself. Gene would not have portrayed himself like this. And Paul, I always tell people, Paul's book was probably the most even-handed out of all of them in terms of, yes, Paul has an ego, and yes, it comes through in the book, but he also at the same time was the only member who was simultaneously not a complete egomaniac and also was not drinking and or doing drugs the whole time.
Right, yeah, him and Gene were the sober ones, but
Gene is going to write a book
but he wasn't Gene.
Paul's going to write a book saying I have an incredibly large unit. Gene's going to write a book saying my unit stretches from New Mexico to Pennsylvania on a bad day.
Gene would be like, I can't write about my unit because it wouldn't fit in this book.
Right.
Like it's just it. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Peter Criss is just like that old joke that. No one wanted to dress up like Peter. Like if you and your friends are dressing up like Kiss, like no one wants to dress up like Peter Criss because even Peter Criss doesn't want to dress up like Peter Criss.
Yeah,
and dude, I'm a Peter Criss fan and always will be. I mean, we don't need to talk about this. I've said a million times. Take Peter Criss out of those early records, and it doesn't have the same feel for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
in the book, it's so I guess Gene. Paul, I think it was again. I want to say it's Paul, but correct me if I'm wrong. He's telling a story about how Gene would bring girls back, and he would not only bring girls back, but he would literally get straight off stage, not shower, and like take these girls back to his room. And he Paul was like, dude, Gene would like smell absolutely disgusting because he's on stage sweating his ass off, like in leather clothing with studs, and all their costumes were heavy and stuff. So like they were, their shows were a workout. So imagine like coming home from the gym, sweaty as hell, like you just put in a hell of a workout, and then going straight to work like on a complete stranger. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm pretty sure Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx would do that to see who could go the longest on tour.
Yeah.
They would go like weeks at a time, seeing like you couldn't bathe, but you still had to bang women. Like, I mean, and dude, they would get off. They're on stage or on a tour bus, and they wouldn't. I mean, that's just, it's funny. But by the way, and then I know there's another Kiss one. We'll talk about that really quick. But what's funny?
I haven't even gotten to the joke yet, though.
No, what's that?
I haven't even gotten to like the thing we're going to talk about though yet.
Oh, well, go. You tell that, and I'll tell the follow. I'm sorry, I didn't realize we didn't talk about this yet.
So I guess the story is that so Gene would basically just throw his costume. They had one. This is the early days of Kiss. So Gene had one like case for their costumes. So they would all throw their costumes in the same case. And I guess one day all the band members like had itchy crotches, and I guess what happened was Gene got crabs. And he kept wearing his costume and not bathing or anything, and their costumes weren't getting washed, and they were all in the same case. So Gene gave the whole band crabs because they would, migrate from his costume onto everybody else's. And when they were like, dude, what the hell, man? He was like, occupational hazard, boys.
It just reminds me of, it is unfortunately a scene that was, a lot of it was cut, so the scene, you could figure it out, but it makes less sense because of the way the film was edited. But it's like the scene in Spinal Tap when they all have cold sores.
They all have cold sores, yeah.
You can figure out the joke, but I guess they edited that so that their whole explanation of that scene was not there. So it was one of those like the joke sort of falls flat in the movie solely because it was edited in a way that it did fall flat.
That was supposed to be that they all hooked up with the same girl. This was literally Gene was being disgusting.
Oh, I know.
And as a result, the whole freaking band got crabs.
No, I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just saying it where my head went with that was also that story, just because it's funny. And dude, by the way, we're talking about Kiss, and I know we've talked about this one before, but can we just throw out the Tom Snyder interview because it is the greatest thing.
Dude, that's on those box sets I gave you.
I know. It's one of the greatest things ever recorded.
Dude, I have to give Ace credit on this. So the funny thing about, what the funniest thing about that whole, so
explain what you're talking about first.
So yeah, I was going to say, like, the whole thing is that Kiss was on the Tom Snyder. I think it was Tom Snyder, and it was a Tom Snyder show.
Not, whatever.
Either way, but they were on a late night. Ace is completely hammered, and they're all sitting there in their costumes and their face paint. This is around the Dynasty era, so they're all like wearing their purple and red and green and blue outfits, but they still have all their costumes on. Ace is completely just wrecked. I guess it
is Tom Snyder, by the way.
Okay, good. I was right. So he's completely wrecked, and Paul and Gene are sitting there trying to give this serious discussion about the new album and the state of music, everything. And Ace is just over there being a complete ass, like making jokes and not being seriously. the funniest thing about that entire interview, and the whole time, we'll talk about some details and stuff later. You know what? Let's go that first. So literally, Paul and Ace, Paul and Gene rather, or Paul and Gene are like, the thing about our music and our art form is blah blah blah, and then Tom will look over and be like, Ace, what do you play? And he goes, I play the trout. And he's
wasn't it because he said bass instead of bass?
He's like, aren't you the bass player? And he goes, no, I play the trout. And then he's like, you're the guitar player. And he goes, no, I'm a plumber.
The thing about Ace Frehley is the guy, first of all, I mean, I realize he was a drunk, but Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee will tell stories about how much fun they used to have with Ace Frehley on tour because he laughs. They're like they can impersonate his laugh like perfectly, and I don't know, dude. There's a story with Alex Lifeson about how he put a bag over his head and he was like called it. I'm making this. It was all like the bag or Bagman or something, and he would go around and like just say dumb stuff. And him and Ace Frehley thought it was the funniest thing in the entire world, but it pissed Gene Simmons off to high hell, and that was half of the reason they liked to do it. The reason Ace wanted them to do it was because Ace thought it was funny, but also because it pissed off Gene Simmons. He lived to just have fun, and because Gene Simmons hated it. So the thing about Paul Stanley is, or not Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley. I'm not condoning drug use and tons of drinking. That's not what I mean. But Ace was just a guy who liked to laugh and have fun anyway. Add to that the fact that he was piss drunk. And you get, oh my God. And can we be honest? The only reason you would even care to watch the interview was because of him. Even and I know you're gonna explain more why this was so problematic. But do you really want to watch an interview of Gene Simmons and Paul being like, blah, 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 blah? No, you want to watch your favorite rock band having fun, not being a bunch of tools. Anyway, continue with your story.
That was exactly what I don't want to say it was problematic. I don't like using that word. No, there's too many connotations tied to it. But that's why the thing about it was a famous interview because you could see how pissed off Gene and Paul were at Ace and Peter.
Especially
now Peter was being goofy, but he was kind of more being like a kind of goofy.
It's just Peter. Peter's just he was just kind of there.
Yeah. Ace was just driving. And the funny thing is, you could tell Tom Schneider was having so much more fun talking to Ace because he kept talking to Ace. He kept talking to Ace, and because Ace was being the rock star. The thing I was saying about the funny thing about this is you have a guy dressed up as a demon, a cat, a spaceman, and a star child, a rock star, whatever you want to, the star child or whatever, right? And they're trying to sit there having a serious discussion. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, you're in a demon costume trying to have a deep philosophical discussion and have people take you seriously. It's
like talking about the state of affairs with Bozo the Clown.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're literally in clown paint.
I'm like, but that's exactly it. I'm thinking to myself, like, Paul and Gene are trying to have a serious, deep discussion about their art. And yes, I get it, whatever. But at the same time, like, I don't think I've seen anybody in face paint ever sit down and have a deep philosophical discussion on, I'm just like, dude, you guys are sitting there in ridiculous over-the-top costumes expecting to be taken as seriously as, like, if they had freaking, like, Henry Kissinger on there or something like that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Let's go one step further. This was in 1979, meaning this was all their solo albums. I think it was 1978 that those came out. If this is 1979, this is right. This is this is Paul and Peter, or excuse me, this is Ace and Peter about to be. So the reason I said it was problematic was this was also everybody's first opportunity to see that Kiss is not, that this is going to end. It was I don't know if that interview was sort of the turning point for the band, but it was certainly public's first opportunity to see, oh my God, this band is done. I knew it was late. I didn't know exactly what year it was, 79. But yeah, that was the world got to watch a band that's going to break up. And I know Kiss didn't break up, but half of them were gone.
I mean, they kind of did.
I'm aware that Ace Frehley is pictured on Creatures of the Night, which I think came out in 1982. He's pictured on Creatures of the Night, but he wasn't even there when it was recorded and didn't know it was recorded. Like, Ace Frehley had nothing to do with Creatures of the Night. His face is just on it. He wasn't there. I promise you, he had nothing to do with that record.
And the thing about it is, again, it's one of those things where you could just see, and if this is on YouTube, it's really, if you've never seen the Kiss Tom Snyder interview, like, you need to watch it, because it is the most bizarre thing ever. You can literally see Paul and Gene standing there just glaring at Ace, like literally shooting dude, if looks could kill, Ace would have been dead 6 times over. Like, they just are glaring at him, like, and again, but it's almost to the point of where, like, instead of playing into it and enjoying themselves, like, I just don't understand how a guy sitting there in a demon costume with a cape and face paint on is getting upset that he's not being taken serious.
The only part of it that I can at least understand is that nothing would piss Gene Simmons off more than knowing that someone else is being the guy they care more about.
And that's exactly what Ace was upstaging him.
Which that I understand, at least because that's Gene Simmons. But
did you hear he had to cancel all of his solo tour dates?
I did, yeah. I saw that. That is,
nobody wanted to go.
Man, I have said this a million times. I am unapologetically a really big Kiss fan, and I unapologetically hate Gene Simmons. I mean, I respect him. I love the band. I love a lot of their records, and agree with basically every I mean, okay, a lot of people, Kiss sucks. Okay, no, I think Kiss is awesome. But every negative thing people say about Kiss, I probably agree with all.
Yeah. And you know what else?
I agree with all of it.
I sent you the article. Gene Simmons was charging, not paying, charging people almost $12,000 to be his personal assistant for a day. So literally, to pick up Gene's dry cleaning, to follow him around, to get him a bottle of water, to make sure his catering is done correctly, you could have the privilege of doing all of that and pay him $12,000.
I mean, and again, the last thing I'll say on that, I know I've mentioned this before, but if you've never seen the Craig Gass, the comedian, his Kiss Cruise story, it is downright hilarious. Now, I don't know if the story's true, and it doesn't matter, but he tells a story that he was on the Kiss Cruise, and he's a comedian, he's performing, and he does, if you've never heard it, a perfect impression of Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. It's perfect. Craig Gass does perfect impressions of a ton of people, but he also does Gene. I mean, if you've never heard him do Gene and Paul, it's downright hilarious how perfect he does it. He used to call Howard Stern as Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. Like, it's hilarious. But he gets on, like, he's on the cruise, and I'm going to paraphrase, just look this story up. It's funny. I'm just going to basically tell you what happened. Was the cruise director in the morning was like, hey, why don't you say something funny in the morning or whatever? And Craig Gass gets on the PA to broadcast to everybody on the cruise, and he was like, "This is Gene Simmons, and the ship is going to capsize, but luckily for you, Kiss is here to help you. For only $15,000, you can ride the." You can get a Kiss logo on a life jacket. Like, he just makes up all this outlandish crap, and of course, people on the ship actually believed the ship was going down. But the whole point was, like, the joke was the ship is sinking, but luckily for you, Gene Simmons and Paul have Kiss licensed life jackets, and it's like, and for $100,000, you can you could rowboat. Yeah, you could get a rowboat while listening to Detroit Rock City. I mean, I'm making that up. I don't even want it. It doesn't matter. You have to listen to Craig Gass's story because it is perfect. Now, at Gene Simmons's like the roast they did of Gene Simmons, he gets up and tells a Gene and Paul story that has Gene Simmons just dying because it's hilarious. But that's him just impersonating Gene and Paul. The one about the cruise ship, though, is so... Not only is it a perfect impression, it's just, you sit back and go, I hate to say it, but that could be true. No, I mean, whether or not it's true that he actually said that on a Kiss cruise, he probably did, but that doesn't matter. You could sit back and go, well, I know he's making this story up. I know Kiss really didn't have, Kiss licensed life jackets, but we all know damn well we wouldn't put it past them.
I'd believe that if someone said it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. But anyway, I agree with you that the greatest recorded moment in Kiss history is the Tom Snyder interview, because Ace is hilarious. You want to just hang out with Ace. And Gene not only comes off as like a complete penis, he also just, I agree with you. Like you're going, you're in clown paint and 12-inch heels. It's awesome on stage. I'm not saying it isn't, but you're trying to have a serious discussion. You're not getting up there and being, like, yeah, like that's not what you're doing. That's different. When Paul Stanley's on stage being the star child, it's fine.
You're not up there going, how many out there like vodka and orange juice?
Right. That's what I said. Like on stage, that all makes sense. But it's the opposite of when, look, we don't talk politics on the show, but we all know. It wasn't like when Dave Brockie used to go on, like, what's it called? Red Eye, the Fox News like show, and Greg Guffman was he's a metalhead, if you didn't know that. But he was a big Gwar fan, and he would have Dave Brockie on his show. So Dave Brockie would be on the show in his full costume. But let's be fair, he wasn't trying to have a serious conversation either. If you've never seen those, they're downright hilarious. Had Dave been with the rest of Gwar and Ballsack tries to have like a serious discussion, and like Ballsack is making jokes, like you wouldn't see Dave Brockie getting all mad because, dude, they're dressed up like Gwar. That's my point. Like what Gwar did on Red Eye or whatever the show was called, that was awesome and hilarious. Watching Gene Simmons try to be this, super serious guy in clown paint is hilarious, and it's 10 times better knowing that Ace is just. And look, I get it. I will say this: there's part of it I understand. Gene and Paul are sober. They're teetotalers. They always were. It's not even that they were and then they got clean. They were always teetotalers. I understand that if you have been playing in a band with an alcoholic or a drug addict or any of those things, and you're not, I understand they were probably super frustrated. I even understand that they were probably mad at him for being drunk on there, because we all know, like they hated that Peter Criss and Ace Frehley had drug and alcohol problems. And I understand why they would. I understand why they were trying to be professional. I get all of it. But the fact that Gene was trying to be serious while in clown paint, it just makes it all better. I would understand all of that. I guess I'll put it this way. If they weren't in costumes, I could understand where Gene and Paul were coming from a lot more, because then you could be like, they are trying to have a real conversation. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else, but that makes sense to me. But if you've never watched it, straight up, just go online and watch Kiss Tom Snyder interview, and you will have a legitimately good time. Hey, I don't know about you, but we are definitely approaching the 2-hour mark. I don't know if you have anything else you want to jump in and add before we make like a tree and get out of here, but.
No, I mean, it's been fun. Like we spent a lot of the first part of the episode complaining.
Right. I mean, we've got a million of these left. Every single one of these is going to turn into a long discussion, and I'm like, you know what? These are the kind of things that I'm glad we have these, because we can just talk about these later. So we have plenty more stories that are funny.
We'll keep adding to the list too. I mean, there's when I put this list together at first, I literally was just off the top of my head rattling some off. So
I mean, look, we were actually talking about this earlier. Rex and I, albeit not now, Rex and I were both fans of, and we don't need to get into this, but we were both fans of, late 80s through the 90s up to like the Attitude Era wrestling fans. And we both love hearing the ridiculous stories that wrestlers have, but also some of the legendary, the stories about Andre the Giant drinking 125 beers in a sitting and getting up and walking away, or like the time he was drunk and passes out in the hallway of a hotel and the staff looked at him and went, we have to just kind of leave him till he wakes up tomorrow. Everything about Andre was tragic, but you get my point. There are plenty of those in hard rock and heavy metal. But here's a cool thing. If you're one of our listeners and you know any stories that are just like legendary stories about guys in rock bands or metal bands, or even if they're not legendary, they're just awesome stories that maybe you read, I've read a handful of, I know you have too. We both read a handful of autobiographies. I read Duff McKagan's and Dave Mustaine's is really good. Rex's is really good. Not Rex on the show. Rex Brown's is
yes,
really good.
my autobiography is riveting.
Yeah, Rex's autobiography, man. Damn
it. All I gotta say is it's not for the kids. Lots of women.
Well, I'll put it this way. I'll put it this way. The Rex's autobiography. It's like the next Catcher in the Rye. You know what I mean? Actually, I hate
it was ghostwritten by someone who's never met me or spoke with me.
Yeah, of course. They made his life sound really fun. Actually, in Rex's autobiography, the ghostwriter wrote Rex's autobiography, except he did bag the girl, with backdraft.
What was
the
like
real story is he didn't.
What was the Homer Simpson autobiography? I Never Knew Me, and Lisa's like, this is mostly about the Iran Contra affair.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway. If you have any of these stories, like I said, the one about Devin Townsend and Gene Simmons farting, that came from a good friend of mine told me that story. I was like, oh my God, Rex, we have to mention this on the show. So
I got one to add to the list. Okay.
If you are someone who listens to the show and you know of any of these stories, now, by the way, if these are like legendary stories that ended up being not true, I would still love to hear this.
Well, that's why they're legends.
That's my point. I mean, I would prefer you telling us like this wasn't true, but the point is, these are legends. Again, dude, I mean, come on. More people knew that. I mean, we're not going to go down this road. I don't want to go on to this, but it's not one of the ones we listed. For decades, more people knew that Ozzy bit the head off a bat than who Ozzy was. People that had never heard of Ozzy, knew nothing about his music, knew that he bit the head off a bat. I mean, and that's true, but regardless. If you know any stories like that, let us know because we'd love to talk about them on the show. There's clearly a million of these that we don't know, and I would absolutely love to hear other ones. Otherwise, we are hitting the 2-hour mark, and it is. I'm exhausted. It's been a long week, and I know it's been a long week for Rex because you've been sick. I just haven't been sleeping well, and I'm tired. So, anyway,
I did want to say one thing.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Because most of the people who have listened to the show, again, I've been sick all week. I still have patches. Have them sitting on my desk. Again, I can get to the post office one day a week, and I've been sick, so I haven't had. So yeah, I feel bad because these two listeners asked me for patches like 3 weeks ago, and I honest to God just have not been able to get to the post office. I'm gonna try and go tomorrow, so hopefully I'll get your patches in the mail tomorrow. I just wanted to provide an update. So I still have patches. If you want patches, shoot me a message. Shoot the show a message. If you sent me a message like 4 months ago asking for patches, do me a favor and send me another one. I want to get these out of here, but I'm going to try and do it as fast as possible. I apologize that it's taking so long. I know I just spent like half the first part of the show bitching about like things getting shipped on time and things like that.
What I was going to say is, if Rex is 3 weeks late getting you your patch, just pretend you ordered it from Amazon and know that it's just a normal day.
Well, but I mean, like for me, it's like I'm also like a person, and I'm one person, and I've been sick and everything else.
You're also not a business.
I'm also not a business. I'm doing this more to like promote our show and to like give something back to our listeners and stuff like that. So again, I apologize. I know that I get impatient when I order stuff too, and it doesn't show up for weeks at a time. So I just wanted to apologize. that it's taking me so long. I'm hopefully going to go get a whole bunch of stamps and shipping stuff tomorrow from the post office, and then that way I can just, start cranking them out. I know it sounds stupid to say how long does it take to put a stamp on something. I haven't bought a stamp in probably 15 years. So like, and again, my post office is open from like 9 to 5, and I work every day from 9 to 5. So I can pretty much go Saturday, and they're only open till like 2 p.m. on Saturday. I know, again, it sounds, well, what do you do at 2 p.m.?
I play hockey oftentimes.
Well, oftentimes I either have to play, either I'm playing hockey or I have other responsibilities that I can't do Monday through Friday. So like, it's, again, I'm not sitting here trying to make excuses, but if you ask me for a patch and it just doesn't show up, I have not forgotten about you. I've literally been, as soon as I get the message and as soon as you send me your address and stuff, I have a box of envelopes sitting right next to the bag of patches, and I have literally, as the requests come in, been putting a patch in an envelope, addressing it and sealing it and putting it in like a little outgoing pile. I just need to get them stamped into the post office. So again, I just wanted to apologize because, again, I hate making it feel like I'm not prioritizing our listeners and stuff like that. Like you said, we always complain we both have a lot going on, but that's because you and I, this show we barely have time some weeks to do this show. Yeah. So, again, I just wanted to apologize.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, this has never been us complaining. It is just it's an expectations thing where we always say we do our best to do an episode every week. We always say we do our best to make the episode what it should be. We always say we do our best to get it out on time. But unlike a professional, well, number one, we don't have other people to do it for us. And number two, we just don't. This is our hobby. This is fun for us. Look, there's nights and there's weeks that we just literally can't do it because we have a million other things going on, and sometimes that's just how it works. But anyway, it's been quite a lot of fun. I need to get out of here. Rex needs to get out of here. So, like us, follow us, all that jazz. It'll be fun. Anyway, so we will see you very soon. My name is Duff.
My name is Rex.
And we'll see you again next week on another episode of the Heavy Metal Hangover. Congratulations for actually making it all the way through this episode of the Heavy Metal Hangover
with your beer-guzzling, head-banging hosts, Rex and Duff.